welcome to this conversation brought to you by White House Custom Color. I'm Jed Toffer, and today I'm speaking with Bry Cox. How's it going?
How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well.
Who is Bry Cox? Tell us who you are.
Who am I really?
Give us the lowdown.
So I've been a photographer about full-time anyway for about 23, 24 years. Mm-hmm. And before that, I did it freelance, worked for other people, kind of did on the side. Went to my college, my university, initially for art, thinking photography would be what I want to do, but I realized that was pretty worthless. So I ended up switching my degree to business.
Okay.
So I got my degree in business instead, which I think was very helpful.
In hindsight, especially wise,
yeah,
right?
well, because, I was so young and I was taking these classes, and at some point I was like, I can kind of just pretty much say anything.
Right.
And the teacher's going to go, oh, that's deep.
You're one of those guys.
And I was like, well, I can tell this is not going to be a helpful degree if I don't do photography.
Right.
And if I do, they also didn't know anything about lighting people or interacting with people. It was all f-stop shutter speeds. And I'm like, I got all that.
Right.
So I was like, the PPA is going to help me more there.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll get that training more. I want to get, just in case I do something else.
Yeah.
Or even if this does work out, I want a business background. So I went into business.
Oh, I wish I would have done that too.
Yeah. And it's been very helpful. The one thing, they were really big on leveraging. They'd always say, debt. And and I was against that. So, and I'm actually look back on I'm very grateful that I didn't follow all their
everything
bad financial advice. Because the most interesting thing is, like my own corporate finance teacher, he taught corporate finance and all these numbers, and he couldn't even afford family portraits with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, this is not.
So you're a big debt-free guy probably, or like try to really manage your debt.
Yep. I either buy things or don't.
Yeah.
I save up. Like I just bought another car here recently.
But you paid for it.
And I went in with just stacks and stacks of hundreds wrapped in elastics and just waving it around.
You had $78,000 in cash. That you
$7,800. Yeah. So I was like, and then it's just like, no, people are kind of like, well, why don't we just get this on a lease or add? And like, no, I either buy things or I don't buy things. And I'm totally fine with my car right now.
Right. Right.
Yep.
How do you, what do you attribute the discipline that it takes to do that? Especially
so initially,
in today's society specifically, I'm asking.
Initially it was fear.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I was like, what if, cause I'm self-employed. I thought, I'm young. I think, what if I can't make enough next month, or what if I can't? And so it was just this fear. So I just save. And then, a lot of the Dave Ramsey stuff. I used to live in Nashville like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was really big, but it wasn't national at that time.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense.
And he's like no credit card type of dude too.
Yeah.
Like
he's just like save up, buy things, or don't buy things.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, it's just so counter culture.
Yeah.
It seems.
I feel like that has given me so much freedom.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't have to take every single job and be like, I really, really, really need this. I can be like, no, I only want awesome jobs.
Right.
Because I don't owe on my car. I don't owe on this. I don't owe on that. I can just pick and choose my jobs.
Right.
And it gives me a lot of creative freedom.
So he's cool with like a mortgage, but
cool with a mortgage.
But you want to like pay that thing off as soon as you can.
Yeah, but also be aggressive with it.
Like the extra stuff, the extra moolah that you might have, you put it towards the mortgage.
And his whole thing is there's 20 things you can do with money, but let's focus on one thing and then let's focus on the next thing. And let's focus. So a lot of people know him as get out of debt guy, but really that's like the first couple steps. And after that, it's how do you save a ton?
Yeah.
How do you invest it? How do you pay your house off?
So you go along with that.
Yep.
And you make that work.
So
it started with fear, but then does it turn into, well, that resonates with me. I get it. But does it turn into at some point, you really start seeing the benefits of it, and you're
absolutely.
Just like,
so now I feel like content.
Right.
And so now there's like, everyone's all like, hey, Bry, what do you think of this new camera? Are you going to get the new camera? Because if you do, maybe I'll get the new. And I'm like thinking, their schedule for releasing cameras is not my schedule for buying a camera. Like, I love my camera right now.
Were you like a once a decade guy, or what? How does?
No, I always make sure I have a couple cameras in my bag. But it's like, why? Just because they released it?
Yeah.
Why do I need? I'm fine with this.
Yes.
Maybe in a few months, we'll see.
Right.
But I just don't feel the rush to just buy every single thing and yet as fast as I can.
And yet you're a gear guy.
I love gear.
Just said that.
I love gear. Yeah. Right. Yep. And we were talking, like, I'm a musician. I I've got more gear than I can use.
So it's not a matter of, I'm just not into that stuff. You love it.
I love it.
But the financial discipline takes precedent.
Yeah. And it's like, I would rather, as long as I can think of it as a investment in my mind.
Right.
And as long as it's not going to cause me any worry.
Right.
You know, if I can buy it and it doesn't affect my life, then I'm going to buy it.
That's very impressive.
And if I feel like, buying that's going to like make me worry for a day or two, or, you know, or it's going to like take a chunk out of my money, then it's not worth it.
So have you ever bought something and then taken it back? You had buyer's remorse and then you take it back?
They're probably not off my head.
Yeah.
But I'm sure.
I feel like I do that on a regular basis. I think I need to adopt your philosophy a little bit more.
Well, you're kind. But no, it's just, I feel like it's given me a lot of freedom and a lot of, for sure on the creativity side.
Yeah.
Where I feel like I can be way more creative at a photo shoot because I just go, okay, I'd rather charge more, make more, enjoy the shoot, connect with the people, and not feel like I'm running in and running out.
When you say it, it sounds just so commonsensical, coming from you.
Yeah. Well, that's nice.
That I think
common sense is so uncommon.
Yes, it is. Well, that's my point, is that it just sounds like it makes a lot of sense, and I wonder why I haven't adapted or adopted it a little bit more into my life. But that segues right into what I wanted to talk about with you, or what you wanted to talk about, was the psychology of pricing and sales.
Yes.
Because that on the surface, pricing and sales are just two words.
Yep.
Right? They seem, if you have a business, there's going to be sales involved, and you're going to have to price the products that you sell.
Yep.
You just think, it's no big deal. It's just common sense. But there's more to it.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is that stores, you go anywhere, you go to Costco, and they've got a lot of psychology into every little detail, right? It's not just a price. They didn't just say this times X, that's the price, put it on the shelf, wherever it happens to land. It's like, no, there's a reason why it's on this shelf. It's a reason why it's on this aisle. It's a reason why it's on the end. It's a reason why the guy's handing you a thing to taste.
There's a purpose for placement and every little
everything
thing you see there.
Yep. And there's been stores that have filmed people walking around, and they track them by computer to see what are your buying decisions? What's the whole psychology of why you bought this over that, or why you did buy or didn't buy? And as photographers, we don't do any of that.
No.
We go, I worked at such and such place, and they took their cost times a markup. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get my lab price sheet, and I'm going to take all of the same things they have times X, and I'm going to throw it on my website, put proofs online, and I'm just going to hope people buy all this stuff, and I'm going to hope that it all works out and I make money just like Walmart or something. Right. But the whole thing is like, I might go into Costco and I go, I just need some nuts.
Right.
I'm expecting to spend $30.
Right.
And then I go walk in there and I go, but I really need that. Oh, I need that. And I walk out spending $300.
Yep.
But the point is that when they charge me, I don't go, never mind, take it all back. I go, but I've already made a decision. I want all this.
Yes.
I pay the $300 and I walk out. But we don't do that as photographers. If anything, we don't sell. We just say, they're online. I don't want to talk to you. Because I don't want to be pushy, so I'm just going to refuse to even do anything. So I'm just going to...
I don't want to be salesy.
I don't want to be salesy. Yeah. So just go help yourself.
Yeah.
Go help yourself. Ring yourself up. Yeah. Everything. And then I'm just going to sit back and watch the money flow in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the point is, we need to use a lot more psychology in how we price and how we value our work and how we present our work and how we sell. And when we do that, then we're going to do a lot better.
And so when I first hear the term psychology, I think, all right, you're getting in somebody's head.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. So the whole point is I don't ever want to be that pushy salesperson, but I also want to affect them and I guess what's the better word? Appeal to them on a subconscious level.
Okay.
Where they go, this is different. I get it. Yeah. This isn't the neighbor photographer I've been using lately or whatever it is. Like there's a difference between that person and this person. I get it. It's worth more.
So do you have really intentional tactics that you use, or how do you go about that then?
So part of it, yeah, there are tactics in a sense. A lot of it is my own mental game.
Okay.
The way I have to force myself to think. Like, for instance, if you have a tough month and you're not making anything,
right.
How are you as a salesperson? Right. Right? You're sweating and you're like, come on, man, I really need this, man. Like, can you just, and that guy's not fun to shop with. So,
okay, yeah,
right.
Gotcha.
So there's a little mental game. Like, even if it's a hard month,
I gotcha. Yeah,
you got to pretend like you just had that $10,000 sale and you walk into the next shoot.
Yeah.
Because when you get that $10,000 sale, how are you when you walk into that next shoot? You're just like,
I feel pretty good.
I feel good. Yeah. I don't need this. I don't not need this. But
yeah. But if this works out, great. If it doesn't, I don't care.
Yeah, but you have that attitude. But you're not. It's not that you're being rude, because you don't want to be. You're fully engaged in the client.
Right.
But you're not. Hey man, what do I got to do to get in this car today? Kind of thing.
Right.
There's no salesman-y. It's just, now I'm involved with the client. What can I do to help? And that whole thing changes, and then the client's like, oh yeah, and then they're a lot more relaxed, and then that sales goes well.
Okay.
So even if it's tougher, you have to kind of mentally trick yourself, be like, walk in as if I just made $10,000.
Yeah.
And now how's this shoot going to go?
Right. And when it doesn't work out, then what?
Then you keep going to the next one.
Right. Okay.
But it has to be more of a long-term thing. It can't be like everything rides on today, because that's way too much stress.
Okay. So what do you do? What do you do?
So yeah, that leads. So one of the biggest things to think about is, and I talk about this a lot when I speak, is the Pareto principle, the 80-20 split.
Okay. Yep.
So it comes from an economist. Most people don't know. His name's Pareto, and he just realized that in Italy, all of the wealth, or 80% of it rather, was in 20% of the people's hands.
Right.
And the opposite. 20% of the wealth was in 80% of people's hands. And they started realizing this is actually true of human nature.
Right.
And they could have actually just, in a sense, theoretically, just wiped out all the wealth, and it would all go back to the same people in a sense. Yeah. And the point is that our clients are the same. We can take all of our sales from the year and say, we had, let's just say for easy math, 100 exact clients. We could say that 80% of all our money came from 20 clients. Okay. Or that 20%, whatever the real number is. And 80% only brought in 20% of the money. So then it's like, okay, there's this worry when someone walks out the door and they come in, they talk to us, or they call us on the phone and they don't hire us. We're like, you have to imagine, yeah, but one, either I didn't present why I'm worth more. Right. Or maybe I did and they're just not able to afford it, which is totally fine too. But it's okay letting go of 80% of your clients.
So that's really like the number that you kind of use in your head.
Yeah, because in other words, if there's going to be a lot of people that just come and say, I just can't do this. Totally fine. I absolutely understand. Hopefully in the future we can still work with you. But I also want to say, look, here's some other things we could maybe do. I have other options. Maybe we could break the payment up or something.
Because I've heard people say 50% of people aren't going to book, and I hear 50%, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, that's scary. 50%.
Right, but you're going 80.
Well, just because that's human nature.
Right.
Right, and so I just know 80% of people aren't really my clients.
Okay.
But I'm only losing. Here's the thing: I'm only losing 20% of the money by not getting those people.
Okay. Now
Does that make sense? So it's a lot less fearful.
Right. If you look at it that way, yeah.
And then what you're freeing up is 80% more free time.
Yes, the time.
And now I've got 80% more free time. But my income hasn't dropped, but a little bit. Right. So the question is, now what do I do with all that time? Now I focus on the 20%. Those 20 that fall through the cracks.
I like it.
Because what happens, those 20, they always fall through the cracks because you're busy with loud, obnoxious people.
I don't know what you're talking about, Bry.
I don't know. But it's just like, they're like the people that complain the most are the people that spend the least.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. It's, it's just what happens. And but at the same time, it's like we spend so much time on a lot of these clients, and then at the end of the week, end of the month, end of the year, and like going, oh man, I didn't make anything. Right. Where with 80% more free time, we can go, hey, I really liked shooting your family. That was I would really like more people to work with like you, your friends, your neighbors. Yeah. And they're like, we liked working with you too. You were fantastic. Sure. We got 3 other neighbors here that all mentioned whatever, we need portraits. And you're just getting, so wherever people are in their pricing, you can pretty much do an 80-20 split and say, I'm going to focus all of my energy and my pricing and my strategy, my marketing on those 20%. Because that's really where my growth is going to come. And that's where my biggest money is going to come.
That part I understand. And so I get on board with that. I think the piece that sticks out to me is when you're in a position, and I ask these are the types of questions that I usually ask when we're talking about this type of stuff. When you're in a situation and it begins to dawn on you that the person you're speaking with is one of the 80%ers.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, well, I could keep at this and try to get, a couple dimes for my time. What do you do? How do you abort?
Well, hopefully we find all this out before a photo shoot.
Okay.
Right. And so we can talk about prices. We talk about all this kind of stuff. And a lot of times right off the bat, people say, this sounds like it's going to be expensive.
Right.
And I go, oh, awesome. I'm glad you brought this up. Let's talk about it. What were you thinking? What were you imagining?
Yes.
And then instead of just me saying, what a lot of photographers do is they jump into defensive mode. It's not expensive. You just don't understand.
That's not going to work well.
Right? Yeah. It's like, no, what I want to do is listen way more and get them talking way more. So, because a lot of times when they say it's expensive, it doesn't necessarily mean they can't afford it.
Right.
It can also mean I can afford anything, but I don't know why I should afford this because
why should I pay for this? Right.
This is not what I was expecting. Mm-hmm. So if I say like, well, what were you expecting? Well, at our last daughter's wedding, we spent $300. Oh,
right.
And how did they work out? Who did them?
Yeah.
And then, actually we didn't like them at all. They were like,
Yeah.
How long ago was it? Oh, it's 20 years ago. Oh, yeah. Well, maybe 20 years ago, whatever it is. And you go, yeah, well, a lot's changed.
Right.
But in other words, they start answering their own question.
Right.
And then they can decide, I get the value. I see what you're doing. Let us think about it or something. But I want this issue to come up early.
Yeah. So
it's really hard.
You make an effort so that it does.
Yeah.
You're intentional about that.
Yeah, I'm intentional about here's why I'm different and all this extra value, which will bring up price. And then, heaven forbid, sometimes like I've had a photo shoot where we're sitting, we'd had the consultation, the photo shoot, the sales, and then they're like, I like all of these, but what do you have for $50? And I was like, like total or like, they're like, yeah, total. Oh man, I'm like, honestly.
This minute that we're having a conversation.
And I was like, why? How did this not?
Yeah. So what do you do? Like what happened? It can't happen very often.
No. And then in this one particular, this instance that I'm thinking of in my mind, I was like, a lot of times for friends, like if people are new and they're curious, I will give them a free 8x10. Yeah. I'll do a photo shoot and a free 8x10. Yeah. I'm certainly happy to give you, a free print if, but I don't really have, all my prints start at $100.
Right.
But I'm certainly happy, as a trial.
Yeah.
And then you think about it. If you would like some more, you can call me. And that way.
You're not taking a lot of time at the very least.
Yeah. And I also don't want to ever insult somebody for what they can or can't afford.
Of course.
Because when I was young, I was a saver. Mm-hmm. And I could, I bought my first motorcycle at 14.
Yeah.
But I also worked construction for my dad. And I remember sometimes I'd have sawdust on me and I'd go shopping somewhere.
Right.
And I'd have a stacks of hundreds, but they would treat me like I couldn't do anything.
Of course, because they didn't think you could.
They're like, oh, this kid.
Right.
Covered in sawdust, like he can afford this,
Right.
And so I don't ever want to, because I've been surprised by people come in with shabby shoes or something and you're like, this may not be my client.
Oh, we have learned that 100
and they
times over.
spend like anybody else. And you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So one, you don't ever prejudge.
Exactly.
But what I want to do is get the objections out so we can talk about them.
Yes.
And if it's price, great, let's talk about price. And here's the other thing is a lot of people that we may say are below the line or the 80% line are actually fully capable of spending the money. They just don't know that they should or why it's valuable.
Right.
So I want to move as many people up. Mm-hmm. But what we tend to do is listen to the 80, price for the 80, gear our whole business around that. And then you get someone that can walk in and spend $5,000 or $10,000 and your prices aren't prepared.
Right.
And your services, basically you're letting those big fish slip through when really that's where we should be putting our focus.
So regarding pricing then specifically, if we make that little shift, what do you recommend? Like how do I, as maybe a new photographer, or someone that's not new, but knows that I need to make some adjustments in my pricing?
Yeah. So I use the example. This is a photographer I met years ago while speaking at Texas school. And she wasn't in my class, but you know how you hang out for like a whole week.
Yeah.
Teaching the same group, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Because you get to spend a whole week. And this lady comes and says, I have a question. And I go, okay. And she's like, I'm wildly successful. And that's how she started. That's why I remember the story so well, because I'm like the wildly successful photographer. And I was like, awesome.
That's
like,
so fantastic.
Yeah. I was like, way to go. Like, she's like, oh yeah, I get like average 5 appointments a day, busy, solid all year. I'm like, wow.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I go, you getting like good sales? Oh, I average $2,000 a sale.
What?
And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, so you're like $2 million a year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no. Then I'm thinking, oh, wait, she counting order appointments too.
Right.
So it's like half. I'm like, oh, $1 million? $1 million a year?
Yeah.
No, like 55,000.
Oh. Math is off a little bit.
I'm like, oh, okay, go back to the wildly successful part. Like, how is that? Like, what do you, she's like, everybody that calls me books me.
Oh.
And
where did I want to know where the 2,000 came from. Where's the average come from?
And so my thought was, she's had orders that were 2,000.
Yeah.
So saying,
she's had one of those before.
I've had those. Like, it's not on a custom.
Right.
Is what she's saying.
Right.
But somewhere in the word average, like she's not averaging 5 shoots a day every day, and she's not averaging 2,000. So I was like, so what is wildly successful? She's like, well, everybody loves me, and everybody that books me hires me.
Right.
And I was like, aha.
Mm-hmm. That's what she means.
That's what she means.
Successful.
Yeah. And I was like, aha. Okay. So I go, we spend a lot more time in this in the class. I go, but here's the thing. You're defining your success by a jam-packed calendar.
Right.
But at the end, and this was her worry, she's like, but I can't afford the ballet lessons, and I can't afford this. By the time I pay for everything, I can't afford it. And I'm like, I feel you.
Right.
It makes my heart hurt hearing this. And I get it. I go, but here's the thing. You got to let a lot of these people go because they're not spending any money with you.
Yes.
And you are better off at another job, which is sad to say. And I want you to succeed at this job.
Right.
And the way you succeed at this job is making a profit. Mm-hmm. And the way you make a profit is you have to charge appropriately. Mm-hmm. So then it led us into discussion, and I don't know her name, so I was never able to follow up. Never know what happened. But but it's a similar story all the time, and I know you probably hear the same thing.
I do.
Yeah, and it's like,
pricing is specifically is the number one thing.
Yep.
That I get asked about.
And what a lot of people
by far.
Yeah. And it's the same. I hear variations of the same story where they'll say, well, I saw this speaker, so I also want to sell albums and I want to sell products, but I can't get out of digital. Okay, why? Because everybody buys my digital packages. Okay, why? Because they're $200 and my album's $1,500.
Yeah, that might be why.
Right? I was like, why would they? So I call it a ladder. It's like every rung of the ladder has to be within reach of the next rung. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is their value.
Right.
So in the old days before digital, if you're my photographer and I go, hey, I like that, and I want 3 copies, one for me, one for my folks, one for my whatever, I buy 3 copies. But in digital, I get it from you once and you never get paid again.
Yeah.
And I go make 1 million copies. Mm-hmm. So we have to value digital higher than a printed photograph.
Right.
In terms of actual price.
Right.
And that throws people off. They go, but it costs me less. I'm like, no.
Right.
It's different. It's value. So the way I start is we have to figure out, the cost of one image. Okay. And then that helps us figure out the cost of an album or a trio or various sizes, different finishes, and then also even the cost of digital.
What do you have a form? Is there a pricing formula, or
I don't necessarily use a formula.
Do you take a lot of different variables into account?
Yeah. So like, just to give you an example, like, so in my case, I just decided it was $100. At the very least, if someone, all they wanted was one print, 5x7, 8x10, whatever it is, $100.
Yes.
And it could be whatever for somebody. Maybe that's out of their comfort zone. It could be $30 or $50, whatever.
Right.
And maybe that's low for somebody in a really nice area.
Right.
And they're like, $100, whatever. Right. I charge $700 an 8x10.
Well, good for you.
Yeah. So whatever it is. But then it's easy math though, just to use 100. So if I want to do a trio, no matter what the size of the images are, there's now 3 photographs in that trio.
Okay.
And so regardless of the size, at the very least, it's worth $300.
You're right.
Now I could say, yeah, but now it's, a little bigger than maybe my smallest trio, maybe the finish, whatever. And we could add in whatever, and then it becomes, what does it seem to be worth?
Right.
maybe canvas is more, but then it helps us. If I design up a collage of 9 images for a high school senior,
right?
I go, okay, right off the bat, I know there's 9 photographs. That's worth 900.
Right.
I could make it worth 700.
Right.
And say, you know what, you're getting a deal because it's a product that's designed.
Right.
An album of 20 images, it's worth 2,000, but I could sell it for 1,200. And someone goes, $1,200 for an album? You're like, yeah, it's not, but you're not buying the album.
Right.
You're buying 20 custom-made photographs.
Right. How? So let me ask you this, because when you're talking, you come across as very to the point. The common sense thing just comes out, right? But when you're speaking with a client, do you soften what you say, or are you pretty upfront? And like what you just said, but you're getting 20 images. Is that how that goes? Well,
that's me. I wouldn't be that abrupt.
Okay, that's why I'm asking.
That's me trying to tell you as much information as I can.
Right.
In a short
right now
podcast.
You're talking to photographers.
Right.
But when you're speaking with a client,
the first thing I do is I want them to talk more.
Okay.
So the first thing, if they're like, oh, that seems like a lot for an album. Like, oh yeah, tell me more. Like, what were you thinking? Oh, I don't know. Like, what are they normally worth? Whatever they're going to say, but it's going to give me a little bit more information.
I see.
I just want to ask them some kind of follow-up question.
Right.
And immediately I can go, aha.
Right.
All right. Maybe it's that they don't value it or don't understand the value.
Right.
And I can say, well, here's the thing. Individually, these images are $100. This is 20. So it's like half off.
Sure.
And the other thing I have to explain a lot, I feel like marketing is education. You can't just say, I'm a photographer, hire me.
Right.
It's education and explaining to people that this is not a volume product, it's a custom product.
Right.
So like we've got a bunch of equipment in front of us. I got a, phone, jacket, whatever. I mean, they're nice.
Right.
But they're volume made. Like I went to the store and I bought the jacket.
Right.
And they're sold by the millions or whatever.
Right. There's 30 more of them on the
right. Same with my phone. I break it. Oh, well, I go buy another one, re-upload the information. It's exact clone of what I had.
Right.
But a photograph, if I photograph your family and you don't buy it, I can't sell it to the next guy.
No.
It doesn't go back on the shelf like any other product.
Good point.
I can only sell it to you. And so we are more of a service that happens to sell products as opposed to a product business.
Right.
And so we have to see ourselves that we're like 90% service. And some people go, but a 5x7 should cost half of an 8x10. And it's like, no, you're not paying for the paper.
Right.
What you're paying for is everything that went in to make that image. And the fact that a 5x7 costs maybe $1 less means that big deal.
It is no big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah. Right. It was the smallest part of the whole thing.
Which is why you lump anything 8x10 and smaller together. Anyway.
Yep. I just say anything 8x10 smaller, $100.
Also makes it simpler.
Yeah.
From a pricing standpoint for the client.
And then so I had a recent client and she was like, I want one 4x6 of this, one 4x6 of that, one, and then she had written it all out.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I know immediately what I want to do. I want to sell her an album.
Right.
Because she's got way more images. And I was like, but I can't just say, let's do an album. But I say, no, why were you ordering 4x6s? Well, and then her answer comes, I don't know what I should do with them. I don't want to hang them all on my wall, but I want all of them. Aha. Yeah. So we have to look at ourselves as the problem solver. But what photographers tend to do is quickly answer the question and not ask more.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot, literally, these aha moments.
Yeah.
But they come from, it seems, you asking why.
Well, yep.
Right. And then listening.
Yep. Because when I see someone ordering 20 4x6s, I'm like, I know why. They don't know what things cost.
Right.
And they're just trying to get in and out as small as possible.
Right.
They're just ordering all the little appetizers and then they're going to leave full.
But I like this strategy because it's helpful to them actually to allow them or to put them into a position where they are listening to themselves.
Yep. They answer their own question.
Yes.
And so on one hand, she has to kind of say, well, I'd like them, but I don't want them big.
Right.
And I say, okay, well, I got a few ideas for you. Because I agree. You don't want 20 images big on the wall.
Right.
I go, how about one, they're going to be the same price for 8x10s. Oh, really? Yeah. So we could either do all bigger prints. That gives you the freedom to move them around the house, put one here, one there, whatever.
Right.
However, I could also do an album for even less.
Yeah.
And now you've got a presentation.
Man, I'm in. I'm already in, right? Like everything's connecting right now for me.
Yeah, and the funny thing is when she first came in, she was like, "Why do people get albums?" I go, "Oh, you'd be surprised, you know."
And she walks out with an album.
And then she even emailed me, and I have it on my phone, and she was like, "I can't believe I bought an album, and I love it so much." And it was so funny that I was anti-album when I first came in.
Right. Yep.
But it's because that particular product solved her problem.
Yeah.
And
you knew it.
And I knew it. And I solved that problem a gazillion other times before.
Right.
So instead of me just jumping in with a solution, I had to get her talking a little bit.
Because that same person, you know, if they come in and they're doing what she did and saying what she said, and you slap down an album right away and say, this is what you need to buy.
Now I come across as car salesman.
Right. It's not gonna go the same.
Yep.
And yet it doesn't change the fact that that's really what's best for them.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And she's out of town. So the nice thing about this is she's doing everything over text and email. Mm-hmm. So instead of me trying to answer the question over text and email, I was like, "Hey, I got your order. Thank you so much. I'll get started on it. But I got a few questions for clarification.
Right.
Can I call you?"
Yeah.
And now I can actually talk to her.
Yes.
And that's where the magic happens. And even if they're out of town, I want to do one-on-one sales, either in person if I can sit down with them. Right. Or over the phone. Or over Skype or something where I can actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love it. Let me ask you this. What would be a piece of advice that you would give to somebody right now that's in this position, where they're like saying to themselves, this is making sense. Like I'm connecting these dots.
Yeah.
And I want to move forward now and be proactive in what I'm doing, in my own business.
Yeah.
To really implement the psychology behind pricing and sales. What's step one? What do they do?
Step one. One of the first things is I like to revamp the whole price menu.
Yeah.
And that really starts with a mental shift where I'm worth X, whatever that is.
Okay.
And what a lot of times people have are packages, package A, B, and C or something.
Yeah.
And like I had a consultation with this photographer and she was like, I only sell these 2 digital packages and I never sell these albums, right? It's like we were mentioned before. It's like, well, it's because it's like you're giving them literally the kitchen sink,
right?
Everything
for nothing,
for $200 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, why would they ever spend $1,000? She's like, but you don't know my clients. They'll never spend $1,000. And I go, okay, well, let's design something where they still spends $200, but maybe they don't get everything you've ever done. Right. And if they want to spend 3, they can.
Right.
And there's an option to spend 4, and there's an option to spend 5, so they can work up to $1,000 as opposed to
the huge
chasm between. Yeah, we need a ladder with easy to reach rungs.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yep. And so that's basically the first thing is the kind of packages do a couple things. They make people buy the middle package. If there's 3, they buy the second.
Sure.
Never buy the top.
Right.
And the other thing is, if I walk in and I can buy the top or more, maybe last time I spent $5,000 in another city. Yeah. And I walk into your studio and you have 3 packages and the top is $800.
Yeah.
I go, oh, well, I guess I'm out of maybe not the right place. I'm going to drop down to the 5, whatever, call it good.
Right.
So we want to also have something for those 20% people that can walk in and spend more.
Yes.
So the whole
be ready for them.
Be ready for them. But a package limits because you're dealing with the 20% of the people that say, what are your packages? What are your packages? What are your packages? So the first thing you do is eliminate those. And I personally believe in like an a la carte system.
Okay.
And then you can build packages.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work as well over the phone because people say, what are your packages? What are your packages?
Right.
So we can handle that over the phone.
Right.
But really, we need to have options and say, well, what are you really looking for? Oh, I don't even know.
Right. That happens a lot.
And that's what because they really don't know what to ask.
Right. It really does happen a lot.
And they go, well, most people don't know until after the photo shoot. But here's some general prices. People spend about this. I have options about here, and they go, oh, okay, that sounds good. Let's move forward.
Right.
And some people want even more detail, whatever. So let me move forward. But then I design the menu so at the very least, they can buy maybe a few smaller prints.
Sure.
And there's no obligation.
Yep.
And if that's all they want, great. I'm happy to work with you. I want you as a happy client.
Of course.
And I want you get out there and sing my praises.
Yeah.
Even if you spent $200.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm now prepared for someone who could spend $500, $1,000, $2,000 or more.
Right. I like that.
Because I have options and I've got more sizes and I've got finishes and I've got things that spread my menu out.
Yeah. That makes total sense to me.
Yep. And I can't just hand that menu to somebody and say, what do you want?
Right.
because there's too many options now.
Right.
When there's 3 packages, it's like going to, what was it, In-N-Out Burger, right? You got
like 3 things.
You got 3. I can get a burger.
There's all kinds of things you can do.
I can get a double burger, right? They have their secret menu,
right? Yes.
But their actual they're like, well, I got a burger, I got a double burger, I can get fries or no fries.
Yeah.
But we try to make these big complicated menus with packages. It's like, no, let's just keep it a la carte.
Well, and why not use them? Because they seem to be doing okay. I think In-N-Out does all right.
In-N-Out does good.
I think they sell some food.
Yeah. Yeah, not a knock on them for sure.
No, it's fed. No, and what I'm trying to say is let's take that and run with that. Because the first thing in my experience that happens if you overwhelm your client is you lose the sale.
Yep, because there's too many options, they don't get it.
Well, and even talking from my own experience.
Yep.
If I'm in a position and I feel overwhelmed, I just want to get out. I'm like, this is too much. It freaks me out. And now I have this association with the experience and I don't want it.
Yep. So really, what I try to do is custom design a package for the person.
Okay.
Say, what do you actually really feel like you'd like? What would how would this look here and how would that look there? And we give them some ideas. Mm-hmm. Now we can go to the menu and say, well, this is what I'm thinking.
Right.
Point it with our finger. I'm thinking this in this room. I'm thinking that for that room.
Okay.
I'm thinking this. And now they're like, yeah.
Right.
This is nice. I have a consultant.
Right.
As opposed to a salesperson.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that. A sales consultant instead of a salesperson.
He's solving my problems. He's listening to me.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And so as much as we can listen a lot more and be like, aha, I know it. I got a solution.
There it is. I love that.
And
so good.
Yeah. And I have other options too. Like if I say, you know what, this would look great. This is such a cute baby. Let's do a series of square canvases in the nursery. And they're like, that sounds awesome. Yeah. And I point to it and I go, here, and this would be right here on the menu. And they go, oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
3 square canvases? Like, get out of town, buddy.
Yeah.
I can't afford that.
Right.
Oh, okay. Is it is it not that you understand the price or, is it the value? Yeah, we're just not paying that.
Yeah.
Great. I got another idea. It's kind of like a canvas. It still stands out of the wall, but it's called a standout. Okay. They're cheaper. I got the same size, and we just move to another option.
So you're ready.
I'm ready.
That's the big piece.
I'm ready with sub options. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this still gets us kind of where we're at, but look how much we'll save. Well, that sounds better.
And then the price of the canvases initially, it makes the standouts seem like that much more of a value to them.
Yep, and it's kind of the same price. Yep. So usually when I go to anyone's in-home. I've got a big square canvas, and by big, just so I can carry it, it's only 24 inches.
Sure.
But that looks so small on everyone's wall.
Yeah.
And then in that kind of a gap in the back of the canvas, I have a standout.
Oh, it's in there. That's a good idea.
So they just have it right there, and I go, and here's a standout.
Right. There it is. Boom.
Da-da-da-da.
That's fantastic.
And it's like maybe 20-inch square.
Right.
And I can say, and here's, and then we actually can measure the wall, and we can talk about it. And then they're like, oh, and then either one of 2 things will happen. They're like, yeah, that sounds pretty nice. Although, I think I like the look of the canvas better.
Right.
Or they may say,
they do. Right.
Or they go, maybe we just make the canvas a little smaller, but we still go canvas. Mm-hmm. And so it gives me, by having little steps on the ladder, it gives me places to move. I can move side to side in terms of finish or product. I can move up and down in terms of size. Yeah,
I like keeping those rungs close.
Yep. So now there's options.
Because otherwise you can't climb the ladder.
Yeah. Otherwise it's just.
It's a good analogy.
Yep.
It's in my mind. Let me ask you this: if people want to know more or get more information from you, is there somewhere they can go on the web?
Yeah, for sure. My training website's my name, Bry Cox Workshops. It's BRYCOX workshops.com.
Okay.
Just my regular portrait site, if they just want to check out my work, is just my name, brycox.com.
Okay. And there's all kinds of resources and information at Bry Cox
so I have, in fact, on my training website, I've got like 5 videos that I email to people when they join my email list.
Okay.
And they've got a bunch of things on lighting and some workflow and sales and things.
That's a nice incentive.
Yeah. But there's also, if they kind of just want to dig around, there's a lot of free stuff they can watch and see.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Great. Let me ask you this. Can you throw out a call to action for somebody this week? Like what should somebody what should somebody do in the next couple weeks? I
think the biggest thing is to love people.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea of photographing them, right? it's like there is something about you and I want to photograph it. And it's not just a picture of you. There's something interesting and emotional and something about you that makes you interesting. And if we can kind of find that first in the photo shoot, and then have that same kind of an attitude when we're selling and saying, you know, like I literally love working with your family and I love you guys. You're such a great family. And have that mentality of what can I do? And it doesn't mean having bad boundaries, because that's what a lot of people think. They think, well, if I'm a salesperson, if I have to bend my prices or I have to bend this or something to make people happy. It's like, no, I can make them happy with a little more service. I always want to give somebody a little more than they paid for, whether it be an extra print or a delivery or something to just give them a little bit more.
Right.
But then at the same time, like literally love them and treat them like you love them, and suggest the kinds of products and the things that you know that they actually need, as opposed to just trying to get your sale up.
To love people. That's the best call to action I've ever heard. No one's ever going to get that's going to be the best one ever.
Awesome.
That's at the top. to love people.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've heard it. That's what you're supposed to do in the coming days, weeks, and months is love people. That's fantastic. Dude, thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on.
This was great.
Good conversation.
It was, and I'm going to try to do that call to action myself. To love people. I might call my wife as soon as we're done with this.
You guys are a good couple, by the way. I like you guys together. I've known you guys for a long time.
It has been a while, yes.
And sometimes just in snippets, where I see you here and I see you there, and I just get little snippets of you guys' life. You guys are good together.
Oh, thank you. Well, I feel as though I'm extremely fortunate to have the wife that I have. And you got me thinking about her now. So thanks very much, Bry.
You bet. Thank you.
Have a great day.